Are you interested in getting your Part 107 remote pilot certificate, but you're not sure where to start? Today, we're going to cover when the Part 107 certificate is required, what the test is like, what the benefit of Part 107 are, and then how you can actually get started. And let's be clear, before we go any further, the official name for this is the FAA Remote Pilot Certificate, but people will also call it Part 107 Certificate. That's because the regulation for it lives in the Federal Aviation Regulation under Title 14, Part 107. And some people even call it a Part 107 license. How dare they? Nah, just kidding. The FAA actually uses license and certificate in their documentation, so it's not a big deal. But in short, all these labels really mean the same thing. So when do you need it? Well, the easiest answer to this is that it's required for any flights that are not recreational. I'm going to say that again. It's required for any flight that are not recreational. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Greg, what does that actually mean? Well, non-recreational means that any flights that are not done for fun, for recreational purposes. And to better understand this, let's review all the different rules that cover drone operations. The first one, we talked about it already, is Part 107, and that's kind of what I call the default set of rules. By default, every drone flight must follow Part 107 rules. Pause, unless there is an exception. Now, some flights can be done under Part 91 with what's called a Certificate of Authorization or a COA. That's the Secret Service using their drones to scout an area. That's your firefighters using drones to pinpoint where the fire is at exactly. And then there is what's called Part 135 operation. Now, drone delivery, for example, are going to operate under Part 135 if they want to deliver packages beyond visual line of sight. Then we have Section 44807, or to be more precise, 49 USC 44807, which allows pilots to fly drones that are heavier than 55 pounds. That's for drones spraying crops in an agricultural setting, for example. And then finally, we have Section 44809, aka 49 USC 44809, which allows people to fly for recreational purposes, remember that keyword, to be exempt from the rules in Part 107. So the rule is clear here, and I'm going to read it to you. The aircraft must be flown strictly for recreational purposes. And yes, you may have guessed it, the vast majority of the flights conducted in the United States are going to be done either under Part 107 or under 44809. And if you're not flying for recreational purposes, then again, remember, the flight must be conducted under Part 107. In other words, the purpose of the flight is what matters.
So right now, I am flying for hire. A couple asked me to take these videos of their house being built. The owners are paying me. What do you think? Need a Part 107?
A Part 107 certificate would be required for this one. If anything changes hands, money, or other goods, a Part 107 is required. And as a matter of fact, anytime somebody says, can you fly your drone for me to do X, then it's pretty much going to be non-recreational.
So I'm out here flying a search and rescue mission. My neighbor lost their dog and I'm out here helping look for it. Now, I'm not getting paid. What do you think, Part 107 or recreational?
Yes, in this case, you will need to follow Part 107 rules for this flight. Even though you're not getting paid for the job, the purpose of the flight is not recreational in nature.
So I was just on a hike and I decided to put the drone up to take some pictures of the scenery in the lake. Is this Part 107 or recreational?
In this instance, you actually do not need to follow Part 107 rules. But there's going to be a different test that is required for all recreational pilots. It's called TRUST, the Recreational UAS Safety Test. It's free. It takes about 30 minutes. You can check out this link right here to get it completed. Or also, we have a full video here to explain how it works.
So I'm flying my drone today to get some cool shots that I can put on my YouTube channel. And I am monetizing my channel, so does that mean that I need to get a Part 107 to be able to do this?
Yes, in this case, you would. The monetization aspect means that the flight will fall under Part 107 rules. All right, now that you know who needs a Part 107 certificate, let's go ahead and talk about how you get one. And that's the part that most people really struggle with, the test. $175, 60 random questions on one of the 170 topics that can be on the exam. You get 2 hours to complete it, and you need to get 70% correct answers. That's 42 correct out of the 60. And if you fail, you'll have to wait 2 weeks before you retest, and then you pay another $175. The exam is going to get scheduled through the only exam provider called PSI Testing. The exam has to be done in person in the United States. Now, once you pass the test, that's not it either. You have to go through a background check before the FAA is going to send you that card in the mail. So what are the benefits of getting your Part 107?
Here we are flying in zero grid. Part 107 operators can get special permission to do things like fly above the grid. They can get waivers. You can fly in restricted areas like near military bases, which recreational flyers cannot.
Here's another great benefit, waivers. Part 107 operators can apply for waivers in order to break the rules, provided that they can do it safely. Now, this includes flying over people, flying beyond visual line of sight, flying higher than 400 feet, or even sometimes flying in the clouds. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the million-dollar question here. Should you take a course to help you study for the exam? And the truthful answer is maybe, but based on our calculation, a third of all the people who self-study are going to fail the exam. Why, you may ask? Well, the information is really all over the place and the topics vary in importance, but mostly you don't know what you don't know. Now, you'll need to learn some of the same information as professional pilots. For example, learning how to read aeronautical charts, airspace, weather, and then the related products. Now, this is where we come in to help. Our Part 107 Made Easy course is kept up to date with the latest changes in regulation, new animation, interactive modules to help you learn as much as possible. Now, I'll be direct, we're not interested in just teaching you to memorize random questions to pass the test. We're interested in making you aviators and professional pilots. There's a reason we have a 99.99% pass rate, and we've trained more people than anybody else in the industry. A quarter of all remote pilots in the United States have trained with us. So if this sounds good to you, head over to pilotinstitute.com and we'll see you there.